Thank you, Dr. Conteh, for being here again. Thank you, everybody, for being here again this Sunday. Dr. Conteh, we have some interesting stuff to talk about today. First off, we want to weigh in on the Bob Keita trial, the Bob Keita case in the Gambia, which is a criminal trial going on right now. We will give our perspectives on this. It is something that everybody is talking about in the Gambia, so it is important that we also give our views on this and try to clarify some points for the benefit of our audience and also all Gambians. After that, Dr. Conteh, we will look at the new salary scale that was supposed to kick in this month. It has yet to come into effect, so we will see what is going on. Is it delayed? Will it ever come in? So we will weigh in a little. We will look at that a little bit and see what we can make of it. And then we will look at the new political coalition that is in the offing in the Gambia. It looks like a new coalition is emerging shortly after the inauguration of Barrow's new cabinet. We will look at that as well. And then something new development has occurred. Somebody prompted my attention to that. That is the fracas between Esafal and Baba Jah. This has not been planned, but we'll probably make a commentary or two on that. It is potentially going to be a criminal case, possibly a civil case also. So we will see what might be involved in that. But Dr. Conteh, first off, the Bob Keita case. This is very, very sensational, and it has gripped the nation very much. People are very divided as to what the positions are on this case. But a few things to clarify. This is a rape case. Rape cases are very complex. They are not straightforward criminal cases. In the Gambia, rape case is very, very serious. Jammeh made it a very, very serious case, comparable only to murder cases. I think it can fetch a life imprisonment, right? So this is a very serious case, and many people are making a lot of sentimental statements about this. We are not going to go that way. We are going to look at the facts as they are presented, and that's the point of view we're going to take. We're going to try to be very factual and take all sentiments apart from this matter. First of Dr. Conteh, criminal case, rape cases are not straightforward. In the U.S., a lot of people are saying that Bob Keita is not getting fair trial. It's not getting due process because the case is delayed. He's been in detention for about 2 years. It's not more than 2 years, like many people are claiming. The case started in August, so it will be 2 years next month, not 2 years yet. Even if you look at this in international standards, it's not very unusual for rape cases to drag on for more than 2 years. In the U.S., an average rape case, I believe, is reported to be around 1.5 years. In UK, it is between 2.5 to 7.5 years. So it's very contentious. Usually there are forensic evidence involved. Blood samples have to be taken, or tissue samples have to be taken, and DNA tests have to be done. So it can drag on for long. And of course, defense attorneys as well as prosecutors will find ways and means to have these cases adjourned and give themselves more time to dig up for more evidence and prepare for these trials, because so much is at stake. You can't just make a ruling on these things in a day or two or even 1 month. Somebody's life is at stake. justice is at stake. So the stakes are very high. So it doesn't go on, it doesn't conclude overnight. So we got to understand that. And I'm very happy that when reporters asked the defense attorney, Lamin Kamara, who I happen to know very well, as I grew up in Tobacco Road in the 80s, he used to visit there a lot, so I got to know him quite a bit. And he was way ahead of me at St. Augustine's too, but I remember when he was there doing his sixth form, I was doing my O-levels then. So I got to know him quite a bit. I believe somewhere down the road we had some family connections as well. But Kamara told journalists that when they asked him whether this was a setup, that Bob Keita was set up, he said as a lawyer, he cannot say that. So, and I'm very delighted that he made that statement. Ordinary people can make outrageous claims that this is a setup, this is that and that, but, somebody who is very much interested in the facts and the law will not make a claim like that. You will focus on the claims that are filed in the court and make your argument based on those facts and the law. So that much we want to say, Dr. Conteh. And then I also want to say that in rape cases, usually the defense that the accused persons can use are typically three defenses: that I did not do it, I did not rape her, or I did not penetrate. I had contact with her, but I did not penetrate her. If you recall, Bill Clinton made this argument that there was no penetration, oral sex was not sexual intercourse. So that argument could be made also. But then the other argument that also can be made, the third one, is that the sexual intercourse was consensual. That means both parties agreed to it. Now, the problem with these defenses in this case is that the first and second defenses, that I did not do it or I did not penetrate, can be debunked by the DNA test. When the DNA test comes out positive for Bob Keita, he cannot make those claims anymore. He cannot say that it wasn't me. He cannot say that I did not penetrate her, because the DNA would pin him down to the crime of rape. And the other part, the third part, which is the sexual intercourse was consensual, is not applicable at all in this case, because whether the victim is raped or not, whether the act was consensual or not, is eliminated by the fact that there's a statutory requirement for this. There's a law that says that if you have a sexual contact with a minor, this woman is alleged to be 15 years old, so clearly a minor. If that is the case, then the argument, the defense of consensuality being the act being consensual, mutual agreement, does not apply in this case. So that is something we all have to be aware of also. But Dr. Conteh, what is very interesting to me is that if you look at the spectrum of Gambian population, most young girls are in defense of Bob Keita. Very ironical to me, because I would imagine most young girls would put themselves in the shoes of this girl who has allegedly been raped and impregnated by a husband of her sister. I would imagine them to be in solidarity with that woman, no matter what. But, many of them are actually in support of Bob Keita, perhaps because of his fame, his popularity, his alleged probably relative wealth in the country. He's claimed to be a businessman who is relatively well off. So those might be the factors playing in his favor, but it is ironical. In the US, I think the experience is that the people who are more critical of rape victims are usually older women. Younger women largely in support, in defense of rape victims, but older women are not. They are typically more critical. They are typically more judgmental in the moral values of young rape victims. It's like the case in, was it Iran or Pakistan? That was a case where the judge ruled that the rape victim caused her own rape because of the sexy underwear she put on. So it it seems to be like an argument like that. You can't blame the victim for her ordeal. You know, there is a statutory requirement that sexual violence, sexual intercourse with a minor is a crime, and in this case, a rape actually. Many people are attacking the victim for her lifestyle, family background, uh, you know, and perhaps they have personal issues with her. But it looks to me also, Dr. Conteh, many are confusing this case a lot. This is a case not about Senabu Mbai. This is a case about her sister and her ex-husband. So the case actually is Bob Keita versus the state of the Gambia. It's not Bob Keita versus Sena. And most of the critics, most of the people who are claiming to be in support of Bob Keita are actually doing so because of their dislike or hatred of Sena. So I think there is a big displacement there. We need to focus on the case, not the side issues. So this is a matter about Bob Keita having raped a minor girl, 15-year-old sister of his wife. So that is what we need to focus on. We cannot ignore that fact. Dr. Conteh, something else happened during the course of this trial, especially in this past few weeks. The baby that is in the middle of this crisis or legal battle actually died in Senegal while in the process of extracting blood samples from him to carry out the DNA test. Now, I understand there are a couple of people who have been arrested in connection to this. But I want to be very cautious about this. We are in Gambia and Senegal are in summer right now. The temperatures can be very, very high. And if you leave a young person in a vehicle with the windows closed, most likely you're going to find that person dead in the vehicle. The temperature can escalate very quickly, and this young person's body homeostasis, right? Internal body temperature regulation is not developed enough to be able to manage these temperature escalations. So they usually die. We do have many cases of this in the US. Many of them are not treated as criminal cases. However, there's been a lot of sensitization and awareness creation to make people understand that leaving a young person in a vehicle, locked up, windows closed, is potentially a danger to that child. They're likely going to die. And it has happened many times, but I think the numbers are declining now. Many people are getting aware of this. Part of this is science illiteracy. Many people are not very literate in matters of science. And you see it in the US here a lot also. It's not only limited to Gambia and Senegal and other countries, but even in US, in the heat of summer, in July, June, up to August, you see people in 100-degree temperatures, people, dressed up in black from head to toe. Every time I see that, I was like, what is this person doing? In this heat, you can't dress like this. You got to put on light-colored clothes. They reflect heat. They reflect light, keeping you cool a little bit. Black materials absorb heat. Basic physics. We all learned this in physics, in high school physics, right? But surprisingly, a lot of people are very science illiterate. Most people don't know this. And this is just one typical example. every day you see a lot of things that people do which are very much in conflict in basic scientific knowledge and awareness. So I think the unfortunate death of this baby in Senegal in a vehicle, in a parked vehicle, should also be understood from this perspective. I believe the people, the police and the lawyers dealing with this matter will also understand this other perspective of the unfortunate incident that have occurred. Dr. Conteh, the other thing I want to briefly mention is that the question before the court really is whether Bob Keita had unlawful sexual intercourse with this woman, this girl, 15-year-old girl. Now, the DNA test is just a process to confirm, to help answer that question. It's not an ultimate requirement. There may be other evidences, whether physical or circumstantial, like eyewitness or some other evidence, that may pin down Bob Keita to this crime. So the DNA test is a fundamental piece of this puzzle, but it's not the ultimate. It will resolve the matter pretty quickly, but I think there should be other evidence also that can be presented in court to make this argument that Bob Keita actually had intercourse with this guy. Because the question is intercourse. It doesn't even have to be the father of this baby. But once he had intercourse with the girl, that is sufficient to prove rape. He doesn't have to be the father at all. The father could be the boyfriend, who is also at the center of this. But as long as it is proven in the court that Bob Keita actually had sexual intercourse with this minor girl, that is sufficient to prove the case of rape. So people have to also understand that. But also, Dr. Conteh, this whole thing also brought to my mind about the issue of illegal abortion in the U.S. Currently, U.S. is going through a very sensitive time about women's health, sexual health. It has been the law in the U.S. that Roe v. Wade, the right to privacy, the right to abortion, is a protected right to a certain extent, to a large extent, I would say, in the U.S. That has been overturned recently. So abortion has become criminalized in many places now. So this case in the Gambia brought in mind to the larger argument of women's right to their own bodies. So while we discuss this, we have to also bear in mind at the back of our minds that there's a larger debate around the world about women's rights. And a lot of people weigh in on this, including imams, and I particularly listen to Imam Fatih. He weighed in on this issue at his Friday sermon or khutbah, something like that. And, of course, he was on the side of Bob Keita also. He even went to castigate the girl, women, the immorality of girls now, all that stuff, But I think that's beside the point. Of course, I do understand the imams are in favor of a male-dominant society. He even, he argued against the idea of a woman being a Qadi. And he cited countries that are women leaders as, backward countries that don't, rely on the Quran and the Sunnah as evidence. But absolutely, I think Imam Fatih is wrong. There are great countries that have been ruled by women. Not only Britain, which is cited, Germany. Merkel is a great leader. He has transformed the German economy and the standard of living of Germans. There have been great leaders. If you look at African history, there have been great leaders in ancient Africa. There have been great leaders everywhere in the world. Women, there is some sense to it. If you look at it biologically and evolutionarily, there's a reason why there's sexual dimorphism, as we call it in biology. There's a reason why there's this differentiation of women and female, men and women physiology and all that. Part of it has to do with the reproductive life of women. But I mean, to use that to say that women are incapable of being intellectually productive as men are is really, really wrong. And the world today is very different from the world that we evolved from, right? Our biological ancestors, the factors that led to the evolution of modern man, it's a completely different world than what we live in today, right? Women don't have to live their life today, just like our, how would I call it, our proto-hominids, if I may use that term, highly biological, but I have no better word for it. They don't have to live like our proto-hominids live their lives, right? So women liberation, there's a good cause for it. Women empowerment, there's a good cause for it. I think our imams have to reform their thinking in line with modern thinking. I do have high respect for these imams, but I think they are very wrong in many of these social issues. I want to make that very clear. It is my point of view, and I stand by that. But we will have to see how this case continues. I think they are in the process of now expediting this case. The next hearing is Monday, I believe. But everybody must understand that we have to let the course of justice play out. The Gambia has a robust rule of law process. We have to respect that. 2 years in detention for rape is not unusual. It's actually very common. Rape is a very complex case. You cannot decide, you cannot make a ruling on a rape case in a month or two. You have to listen to all sides. You have to give them time to bring their evidence so you can make a sound and fair judgment that will be in the interest of all parties, including Bob Keita. Thank you very much, Dr. Conteh. What do you make of this ongoing saga in the Gambia?
Well, for me, thank you. My concern is so we need to revisit this rape law in the Gambia. So somebody can accuse an individual and no lab test, no DNA test, nothing. And you can languish in jail for 2 years, almost 2 years. Come on. This is not safe because it can happen to anyone that you can be accused of rape when actually that's not the case. And you can be in jail for 2 years. I fault the police if this is an alleged crime. And as far as our laws are concerned, you are innocent until proven guilty. And if this is going to be a bench trial, I'm very concerned about that, particularly those of us who travel to Gambia, because there were instances where some people will even try to blackmail an individual or individuals for having, considered sex with them, and they say, you raped me. A gentleman we're not going to name, he had been in the news in the Gambia, and his reputation was ruined because of such. So I don't understand how it can take the police that long to take a DNA test. And in fact, why would they be taking DNA when Boubacar Keita's attorneys or representatives were not present? And for the judge to say that, or the judge or the prosecuting attorney to say that they trust the, no, the judge said it, that they trust, he trusts the prosecuting attorney because he's been doing his job. I'm very concerned about that. And I don't want to get into the politics of what, and what. And then for Senabu to be arrested now or detained in the Gambia, but the incident happened in Senegal, I'm confused. Because the Gambia was not the scene of the death of baby Muhammad, 2 years old. It happened in Senegal. So I think Senegal should be extradited to Senegal and face trial there, but not in the Gambia. And that is that's my concern, because this can happen to anyone. So you can get accused of rape on your vacation in the Gambia, and then you're going to stay there for 2 years.
Right.
So I mean, what is the point? And then for them to take a DNA test without having Boubacar Keita's representative is just, I'm very concerned about that. For 2 years? For 2 solid years, they have not done any tests, and they just did it. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. So, but also, I hate to say this. So Senabu had to be arrested for the death of the child. You see, karma will always come. I'm not trying to side with Boubacar Keita, because I won't call him Bob. So this is something, in my view, is very scary. And I think the lawmakers in the country need to revisit this. If you get accused of rape, there should be a time period within a month or so. They should be able to go out there and do the test to confirm whether, in fact, you really had sex with this individual. So this kind of draconian law in the country is very scary, because it can happen to innocent people. Because that was a gentleman whose reputation was totally ruined. And so I don't want to get into the politics of people saying that he supported a different political party and so forth. But this is for all of us. So I think the authorities should be able to go in there, because I'm amazed at the young people, females, who are out there supporting Boubacar. And I tend to believe in them, because rumors can go around. The Gambia is a very small country. For you to see this number of women out there supporting Boubacar and condemning Senabu, but they don't have to go to the point of condemning her family, because Senabu's family has nothing to do with this. But I'm happy that she's arrested, so that she can also, if she falsely accused this Boubacar of rape, and because of rape, karma came and got her too. But the saddest thing is someone had to die for her to be arrested. So that's my take. I'm not saying I support Boubacar on this case. It's just that how you can be framed by someone in the country of rape, and then you end up in jail for 2 years. And for all of us who go to the Gambia on vacation, we need to be very careful, because this can happen to you. That's my biggest concern.
Thank you very much, Dr. Conteh. Very true. You raised some very important points. A few things I want to clarify on this. I think it is clearly true that the crime, the death of this girl, this baby, which they call baby Muhammad, I believe, occurred in Senegal. I think that fact made this a multi-jurisdictional matter. There are different types of jurisdictions. Senegal may have a jurisdiction because the crime occurred within their territory in the country. But Gambia also has a jurisdiction in the sense that the crime involves citizens of the Gambia, and the crime, the parties, the people allegedly involved in this crime, have a connection to the Gambia. In that other than being citizens of the Gambia, they reside in the Gambia. They only went to Senegal for a brief period of time to do a medical medical procedure. So the Gambia has a jurisdiction. Senegal may have a jurisdiction also. I believe they may be able to, under their laws, also open a case about this matter. But clearly, Gambia has a jurisdiction, and they can, under the laws. I have to say, I have very limited knowledge of Gambian law. Most of what I say are based on U.S. law, and I'm not a lawyer. I have to make that very clear, even though I have some understanding of the law. But I think Gambia has a jurisdiction in this case. They are able to request the parties to this alleged crime be extradited to the Gambia and face the law. Having said that, I think also, like you rightly said, we all have to be very careful when we visit the Gambia or actually any country. We face the same thing here in U.S. too. If a woman, particularly U.S. here, if a woman accuses you of something, including your wife or somebody, it's one quick way to destroy you totally. Even if it may not be true. I know somebody who was caught up in this, and it ended up very, very bad for him. Most of the time, a woman's word is taken for it, and is taken very seriously, especially in allegations like this. Even if you end up being innocent, proven innocent, it takes a lot of your time and money to free yourself of this kind of claims. So it is important that everybody be careful. If you must deal with somebody, at least let it be an adult. Don't mess with underage girls. Anywhere in the world, it is one quick way to land yourself in trouble. But what I also want to say, Dr. Conteh, I do understand there may not be any red kit in this case, because this matter was not reported immediately. This girl allegedly, I think in preliminary evidence in the court, the girl has been having kind of a hit and run with Bob Keita for some time before she got pregnant. And when she got pregnant, it was only after the mother of the girl discovered the pregnancy that the girl was forced to reveal what happened to her, who impregnated her. I understand she was unwilling to even talk about it in the beginning because it was kind of scandalous. It's not quite incest, but it was a scandal in the family. It kind of brought in sexual competition between the girl and her sister. That is, a family is too small for that, right? So I think the name of Bob Keita, that's when it came out into this. And then I think then from there, it became a criminal case. I don't know if Zainab is the one who actually reported this case, but whoever reported it, it's not really the point. The point, because this is, as long as Bob Keita's name is mentioned in the pregnancy of a minor girl, it becomes a matter for the state to take up because it's a criminal case. It's not a civil case. But I think, like you rightly said, the police should have only effected an arrest when there is probable cause. Any arrest for a crime, there should be a probable cause for it. I don't know how the procedure of this went. Like I said, I don't know the full Gambia's legal system. But typically, before somebody is arrested, if there is an allegation of a crime, the police look at the facts and they probably do their investigation. If they have the probable cause, reasonable belief that a crime has been committed, they can take this matter to a judge and lay the facts, what they know, the result of the investigation and facts that have been gathered in front of a judge, and the judge will issue an arrest warrant for this person, and then the person will be arrested. If the police did not find any probable cause, there will be no warrant for an arrest. So, and I believe at the time Bob Keita was arrested and he retained an attorney, and the first time this case is mentioned in the court, his attorneys will be in position to look at the charge sheet and determine whether there is proper procedure for the arrest of this person, whether the probable cause has been established, and all the things that emanate from there on. And they can even make a submission of um, summary dismissal, or for the case to be thrown out for lack of evidence. The prosecution did not make any case to even proceed with this matter. So there are a number of tools that could enable the defense to actually abort this process right at the beginning, if there's such. So I don't really know the real fact of this from the onset, but I would assume that the police, before they effected an arrest of Bob Keita, they would have established probable cause, and it will be based on that probable cause that an arrest warrant will be issued. Um, like I said, not everything works fine and dandy in the Gambia. There are a lot of shortcuts that people take in the Gambia. So, but that much I want to say on this. So I hope this matter is resolved pretty speedily. We all have to be just cautious and allow the due process of the law to proceed. And some people are taking this in a political way. I was listening to protests that people are accusing Barrow. So I assume there are a lot of UDP members in the no, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding about that, Dr. Conteh, but there are a lot of people who are accusing President Barrow of, and allegedly Bob Keita was an MPP supporter himself, and some are even saying that he was a friend of the First Lady. So I don't know how true those are, but some are actually accusing President Barrow's government of complicity in this matter. So I don't know, but I guess we'll see. Any final word that you can?
What I don't understand, in the Gambia is, so we can, every small little health issue we have,
Yeah,
we have to go to Senegal.
right.
But then we can try to build a $100 million hotel,
Yeah,
and then we can also have build a convention center.
right,
But we cannot take care of these small little things.
right.
What's our problem? So we cannot prioritize. I bet buying DNA test kit and rape kit is not going to cost you 100 million. It's not going to cost you 1 million US dollars. So what seems to be the delay in our country? Every small little thing we need to do, and mark you, like I told someone, okay, most of the medical doctors contract. Some medical doctors in France contract with Senegalese doctors and hospitals and clinics, so they can fly from Paris to Dakar in about 5.5 hours, do whatever they need to do, and then go back. So we have been used as medical tourists, and the government, we should try to address that. So no funding, no budget for small little things. People who will go to Senegal, and most of the people, when they go there, they die. They bring them back. So we cannot do all those things in the country. Well, we have a teaching hospital. No, this lack of priorities. Anytime some small little things happen, you have to go to Senegal. No wonder Senegalese disrespect us. For so long, we cannot prioritize our needs. And then we have to say, having a convention center built over there, it wasn't a grant. It was a loan. And okay, even if we're going to get grant, why can't we have medical grants so that we can have this? You got a teaching hospital. You don't even have machines that can test people. So your citizens have to go all the way to Dakar. Can you believe somebody who cannot afford to fly to Dakar for treatment only has to be in a vehicle to be driven? No, it's no excuse. Lack of priorities. But then if they have the money available, it's going to go into some fraudulent stuff.
Right.
So we continue to blame the president when we ourselves are as corrupt as anything else. So it's very sad for a country. I don't know. I don't know. Whoever comes in, that should be number one, numero uno, policy or objective to say that we will minimize the number of people who go to Senegal for medical treatment. This has been happening since Saudi's time. Something has to be stopped. We have to do something about that. It's sad. Got a convention center there, and since it opened, how many times did they use that? It's this is sad.
Thank you, Dr. Conteh. Very well said. Yes, very true. Misplaced priorities. I probably, if we had my father's forensic lab.
Yeah. For him? Where is the 45 million?
I know. I know. But at least probably we will be able to do a DNA test in the Gambia by now. All right, but thank you so much for that. I just wanted to clarify one more thing on this issue, and then we'll move on. That is the issue about the right to public trial, public hearing. Clearly, there's a right to public hearing. Every citizen should have a right to have his case tried in public in a transparent manner. However, Gambian people need to understand, and there are a lot of people making these claims because in relation to the kind of commotion that the crowds are doing around the courts and the restrictions placed on the crowds in accessing the court premises, the right to public hearing is not an absolute right. We have to understand that. The courtroom, to a large extent, belongs to the judge. The judge has a right to make a determination about access to the hearing in the court premises, depending on the circumstances and the danger that are posed by the public. And the judge may decide that this trial is going to be restricted to the public, and decide how the manner that restriction is going to be, whether the trial is going to be completely in camera or it has to be accessible to the public, but in a limited way. Those are within the law. It's not a violation of the law. It's not a compromise of the due process. So Gambians need to probably understand that the right to public hearing is not an absolute right. It is contingent on certain factors that are to be determined by the judge. I think I wanted to clarify that. I hope I'm right on that. Like I said, my knowledge and understanding of Gambian law is pretty limited, and I'm not a lawyer. So I got to make that clarifications all the time. But that's so much on that, Dr. Conteh. I think we will briefly look at the new salary system in the Gambia, and I will briefly comment on the new coalition and then the SFR Babaja fight. Dr. Conteh, the new salary scale in the Gambia was due to kick in this month. I don't think it has been specified what date in July, but it's the end of July and we haven't seen anything so far, right? And this matter is coming up in the Gambian media. I think I read it in a couple of newspapers that the salary system, the new scale, has not kicked in us yet. And many people are anticipating a bump in their salaries, and they're still waiting to see anything happening. The Ministry of Finance apparently looks like they don't have the funds. They may have to head to the National Assembly to get approval for a supplementary budget to get this new salary system running. So we don't really know what's going to happen. And some are even claiming that this is really going to go beyond the Gambia's National Assembly. They may end up heading to the international partners for funding to be able to afford this salary increase. So I don't really know what's going on. We'll have to dig a little bit deeper into this and see what's really going on in the Gambia. Clearly, I think there's really no money um, to pay for these salary increases. So um, we'll see what happens. Probably we'll bring this topic back next week or a week after that, after we know a little bit more in detail about what's going on. It's almost the end of July, Dr. Conteh, and nothing is happening. So I'm very apprehensive now that anything is going to happen within the next week or so. I think the month ends end of this week, something like that. Or Dr. Conteh, what do you think?
Well, I'm glad that you brought this up because I wrote to the state house and complained on Facebook that the new salary scale, in some instances, some people's salaries was bumped from a low of what to almost 500%. And I said that there is no way you can increase expenditure without having revenue. So that being the case, we cannot rely on grant money
Right.
and we cannot borrow money because if you have financing, it's either equity or debt. So we are highly indebted in our country. The budget that Mamburenjai, the former Minister of Finance, presented in December 2021 did not include any foreseeable expenditures relative to the salary increase. And they brought this up in January when Mamburenjai was still minister. And I stated that this is not feasible based on the revenues that we predicted to earn, because you cannot have expenditure if you don't have revenue, otherwise you are going to borrow. And we don't even know the per capita debt of our country, because in my view, they say it's 78 or 80. I believe that the Gambia's debt is over 100 billion. So that being the case now, they're going to come up with this. And I even suggested that if you're going to come up with a new budget with new expenditure, it's best you kind of have interim reporting period, meaning that you report have a half-year fiscal year from January to July 31, 2022, and then begin a new fiscal year effective. I said no, up to June 30th, and begin a new fiscal year July 1. So which means that the period would have been January 1 to June 30th. I said that if, since this was passed into law, you cannot have any other budget without getting parliamentary approval. But then the National Assembly turned around and increased salaries for parliamentarians. And I was told that every month, Parliament now is set to receive $102,000 a month. So that's a budget buster too. So, but when you bring ideas, these are NPP surrogates of Barrow, they always will say that you are against the president's agenda. So this is for their own selfish interest, while they are just fooling the president. So I think some of us cannot sit on the sideline anymore. We really have to go out there and scrutinize what is happening, because this is not feasible. And it's lack of priorities whatsoever. So they just come up with any expenditure and think that the equity section is going to consume it. And if they don't have it, they're going to turn around and ask for loans. We are highly indebted, and we continue to be indebted, because every year when a budget is presented in the Gambia, we always have a fiscal deficit. And the fiscal deficit amount, for them to close that deficit, they double the amount through borrowing. So constantly our debt increases, tremendously. So, but what frustrates me is that in most countries, if you're going to have a policy, you call professionals, expertise to come and present their ideas. You don't have to take all of them. But in the Gambia, you got people sitting out there just making decisions. Look at even the building of the roads, the OIC roads. They waited until near the rainy season to start doing that. And you know that we don't have any drainage system where when it rains in the water, when it rains, one can say that the water is going to go through the drainage. No. So we have lakes sitting there. I was even telling uh, a councillor last night. I said, make sure in your region, in your area, you don't have any standing water. I say because the standing water invites mosquitoes, and if we can clear all those things, and so maybe having a truck that can have a thing to suck water out and then dump it somewhere else is better. I said even the police station last no KMC, the headquarters, when the lady who was the CFO or whatever, when she was denied access and later on allowed to come, the police were standing at the gate. I saw standing water there. I said that's very common in the country. So I say maybe we need to do that, in our country. But the thing is that the most frustrating thing about borough administration is not the president, is his surrogates. And I may begin to say whether they are 3%ers or 5%ers. They are the ones who are deceiving the president. Even this 100 million hotel stuff. How can you build that in 8 months? It's not possible. So OIC, what is OIC going to do for us anyway, when we cannot meet immediate needs of our country? No technical education. No, if you live in the North Bank, you don't have any training center there. Those should be the things that we should all talk about. Can you believe if they have a technical training center somewhere in Bullet Bar or even around, any of the villages or over there, you're going to have Senegalese coming there because someone told me they don't have any training institution in Senegal all the way up to Kaolack. So we don't sit down to strategize. But again, I think it is our fault after supporting Barrow. And then after he assembled his team, I even made suggestion to say that if you have new ministers going into different ministries, you should reshuffle your permanent secretaries. Have some new people coming with new ideas. No. The sooner you criticize them, they say you are against the president's agenda. So some of us have to come back again and start talking about this, because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to increase civil service salaries when you don't have the revenue to sustain it. The only thing that you have to do is to go borrow. And after you promise people, it wasn't feasible at all. Increasing somebody's salary by 256%. Where is the money going to come from? And the vice president said that we didn't need transparency in our country. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And he should be out there talking about it. But again, by us criticizing the government, which is our right, because we want a better Gambia. These surrogates in the State House always will say that you are against the president's agenda. The agenda that you promised, you set forth, is not supposed to be 100% accepted. People who are in the discipline, they know what's going on. They cannot provide their ideas to you to say, I think you should do it this way. So the president needs to know that. Maybe Sankara might be the best person that we can engage to say that, since he's a diaspora representative, we can tell him the biggest problem I have with borough administration is the surrogates who are only there to fulfill their own selfish needs. And I will say that. I still support the president, but this president will not be able to deliver when they have so many stuff. They have a lot of stuff that cannot be implemented. increasing expenditure without revenue? No, the only way you have is to go borrow. And we cannot borrow. The more we borrow, guess what happens? It affects our monetary power, our monetary unit. The Gambian dollar continuously is depreciating. And somebody was saying that people should not be accepting foreign currencies. I say, how about the safer? Because even in the Gambia, the Senegalese who are there, they refuse for you to pay them in Gambian dollars. So we have this sense of inferiority, but we can condemn our very own. So I don't see any feasibility whatsoever in this salary increase, and even they're going to implement it before October, they're going to be asking for supplementary approval. And when they get a supplementary request, it's going to be in the form of loans. And where are they going to go get the loans from? Every single time you borrow, what happens? It affects your monetary policy. No sense of creativity whatsoever in our country. And those who really mean well for the country, who still support Barrow, the surrogates are saying that we are against his development agenda. This is travesty, and I hope somebody out there in the administration can say, you know what, we need to listen to these people to see what they can bring to the table to make the Gambia a better place to live.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much, Dr. Conteh. Very well said. Yes. I believe these things should be up for debate. We should be able to listen to one another, adjust the programs as necessary. But one thing you mentioned about the OIC regards to these road projects going on, I think we'll create a topic on this OIC.
Okay.
Some point. I think the OIC is pretty much hyped in the country. I tend to believe it may be overrated. Suddenly, it will bring a lot of business and investment into the country. But I think the level of trouble we're going to accommodate OIC may outweigh actually the benefits of the OIC. But we will try to find time and look at the OIC project in detail.
Okay, so let me intervene here before we go to the next topic. So you're gonna build this 400 room hotel. So you already have hotels in the country. What's going to happen is going to affect business enterprise. I'm not in support of building 400 room hotel to the tune of 100 million when we already have hotels. And then also building the hotel in a place that is so congested. So we don't think about any other place. But only I thought they were supposed to build a hotel in Barra. What happened to that?
Nothing so far.
So they only talk without delivering. But again, when you criticize them, they say that you are against the president's agenda. When we all support the president, they are there only to do that for their own selfish needs. And I hope Sankara and the rest of people can understand that. We mean well. But I'm not going to mortgage my professional training to take a position that I know is contrary to my views.
Yeah.
Any professional act, that has to be done. It's only in the Gambia that people who don't know anything about something are the ones who are leading us, and we are driving with our eyes closed.
Yeah.
I still don't regret supporting President Barrow, but I think he needs to move forward and clean house so that we can have a better country. We can have people who can advise him, because those who are at the helm over at the State House, they are not in there but for their own selfish needs. And I think I need to start speaking. I cannot just sit down quiet, don't say anything, because this is sad. Building a 400 room hotel when we have hotels over there, and then they didn't even tell us any clarity on this, and what is the stake of the government. We don't have any money. Why are we investing in something when we don't even have incubators in our country?
Right.
People run to Senegal for medical treatment.
Yeah.
But again, when you say that, they say that you are against the president's idea.
And we'll look at this project in detail, probably in the next two coming weeks, Dr. Conteh. I do want to say I do have belief and trust that Sankore, the now um, the diaspora advisor to the president, um, will do a good job in advising the president as to diaspora affairs, and probably a lot more than that. Sankara is a good friend of mine. Um, I do have confidence that he will be able to guide the president. I hope the president will listen to him very well, alongside Dr. Juve, Badara Juve. These are two people that quite eloquent and quite astute. I have very high confidence in both with regards to their new portfolios. So we'll see what happens, but these issues should be a matter of public debate, and we should be able to accommodate each other ideas, even if only at the level of ideas. But we'll see what we can weave together with regards to these OIC projects in the coming weeks. That's for that, Dr. Conteh. Briefly, we'll talk about the new coalition. There is a new coalition in the offing in the Gambia. This coalition largely comprises of political parties that supported President Barrow's grand coalition of NPP, NRP, APRC. So the parties involved in these coalition talks largely are Bachelis Gap and who else is there?
Hydra.
Hydra is there, Papa Fall is there. Some of them are very unknown parties, I believe, independent candidates. Many of them just pull their forces behind NPP in support of President Barrow's re-election, largely because they made no headway in the nomination process or in the electioneering process. So their decision to back President Barrow was the best option for them as in order to survive politically, right? These political parties or independent candidates have very little weight in Gambia's political field. But I want to believe that many of these are disgruntled in the fact that they are, by and large, members, political parties or candidates, former presidential candidates or aspirants who backed President Barrow in the hope of getting a position in the government. And so far, none of them did, and they are pretty disgruntled. So this is the action they have taken to withdraw away from Barrow's coalition and pull up their forces together, form a new coalition. We'll see how this fares. But actually, the leader of GAD, who made a statement in the media about this, claimed that his attempts to meet the president has been denied repeatedly by the protocol officers. And so he ended up declining the meeting with the president eventually. So Bachelet suddenly is disgruntled, and I believe all the others, if not disgruntled, they are disappointed in the lack of in the fact that they have not made it into Barrow's government as a reward for their backing of the president. So there's a political reason for their withdrawal from the NPP Grand Coalition, and forming their own new coalition. So we're going to follow the developments on this and probably give an in-depth analysis of this new development in the Gambia's political field. But as of now, that is my views and my understanding of what is going on. So it looks to me, particularly was trying to impose himself as a presidential advisor to Barrow. So it doesn't. I don't think it works like that, So hopefully we'll see how these things turn out in the coming days and weeks. Dr. Conteh, briefly on this, and then we'll look at Esafal and Babaja.
No, I don't have anything to say about it.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Conteh. Well, it's just while I was waiting for this program, somebody alerted my attention to a live video of Babaja and Esafal fighting. So I had to log into social media to try to watch that video. It is quite interesting and it is quite unfortunate. There's a video evidence of this incident. It may not tell the whole picture, like most video recordings of these kind of things, but it clearly gives some perspective, some face to really what happened. You could hear Babaja. Most of the narration was coming from Babaja himself. But you could hear him cursing Esafal, and from the distance, at some point, you could hear Esafal's side also hauling insults or back at Babaja, and at some point, what seemed to be like Esafal's guards approached Babaja and confronted him, and it ended up giving him some kind of a beating. And then Babaja was whisked off in a vehicle, purportedly heading to a police station to give a report. So a couple of things to make out of this. Even though Esafal claimed that there is no evidence on the video that he actually attacked or insulted Babaja, but the fact that, and this is not very clear, I don't know, the young man, kind of a well-built, athletic guy, certainly a bodybuilder, who purportedly is Esafal's security guard, attacking Babaja and beating him up, potentially is a criminal case. It's a criminal case of assault and battery, but also it's a civil case. So I think Babaja may have claims. He may open a criminal case with file a police report where the police may open a criminal case against Esafal and his team. The criminal case largely will involve the security guard who actually assaulted and battered Babaja. This may spare Esafal as a person because I don't see him assaulting or hitting Babaja. So he may not be liable for that. But there could be, Babaja could also open a civil case and make claims against both Esafal and his security guards. Esafal could be liable for the action of his security guards through what the lawyers call vicarious liability. Let the master respond, right? Respondeat superior. So Fal's security may be liable, and in extension, Fal may be liable for civil damages. This could cost Esafal a lot of money in the sense of defending himself and his security guards against Babaja's claims, but ultimately also making huge monetary payments to Babaja for what he has gone through in the hands of his security personnel, his security guards. So, so to just give a recap of what may be at stake here, I just wanted to bring some of this out. Again, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't have any expertise on Gambian law. I have to say this, but my review of the video has brought some of these points in my mind that potentially, and I have to say that again, potentially, there are both criminal and civil suits coming out of this incident. Esafal security guard who actually assaulted and battered Baba Jah could be potentially charged criminally. And also Baba Jah could make civil claims against both Esafal and his security guard for what he has gone through, for assaulting him, beating him up, and causing bodily injury potentially, causing suffering, causing emotional distress. All of those claims potentially could be made in a court of law against Esafal, in a civil court of law against Esafal and his security guards. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll see how this works out. Esafal was a presidential candidate in the last presidential elections in the Gambia, and he's an upcoming smart young lawyer in the country with very huge political ambitions. This may be a setback to his reputation, to his career as a lawyer and a politician, but he could also be exonerated and be able to recover and use this incident as a pedestal to propel himself to higher heights in the Gambia's political, legal, and social spheres. Dr. Conteh, I don't know if you had a chance to see this incident online. You may not have an opinion on this, but if you do, feel free to tell us what you think.
I saw the video and I'm staying away from it.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Conteh. I think this is all we have today. We will meet again next Tuesday. And again, thank you very much for being here. Helping us unravel some of these issues and give our viewers some understanding of what we think is happening in the Gambia of today. And we'll be back again next Sunday. Thank you again, and thank you, everybody. See you next weekend.
Take care. Bye-bye.